Okay, so now the Philadelphia 76ers won games 3 and 4 with Joel Embiid in the starting lineup. So now it ultimately got some time to reflect on. And ultimately you realize that, yeah, Joel Embiid is the heart and soul of this team. The sad fact is that this team, the way it's currently structured with this roster and its coaching, Joel Embiid is the guy who's the heart and soul of this team. And we ultimately have to rely on his health to have a chance. Ultimately, I mean, we see it right there. We saw games 1 and 2 against the Heat. We put up a good fight game 1, but we still lost. Game 2, we didn't even come close. We got blown out. And then games 3 and 4 with Embiid with 2 injuries. Orbital fracture in his face and a fracture in one of his fingers. So with 2 injuries, him not being at his best clearly, it still took his presence being on the court to help lift us the wins in games 3 and 4. And yes, they did have something to do with us being at home as well. I will grant it that. But it took Joel Embiid being there just for us to get some wins in the series and for us to have hope of possibly winning this series. Because now we're at 2-2, so there is a chance. I still have my doubts on whether we're going to win the series, but we at least have hope now. And we have that hope because Joel Embiid is playing. But at the same time, there's also the risk he re-injures his face or his finger, and he's out indefinitely. And then what? But sadly, we rely on Joel Embiid to be the heart and soul of this team. While as great as Embiid is, he has a long list of injuries throughout his career. And he has missed time throughout his career due to injuries, including the first 2 seasons he completely missed. And here he's missed some time last year in the regular season, got injured last year in the playoffs. He did miss some games due to COVID, and he's missed games 1 and 2. So there is an injury history there. As great as Embiid is as a player, his health is the one thing that we have to be concerned about. But the sad part is we don't have the roster outside of Joel Embiid to possibly contend. Because when he's injured, we just don't have that. Because James Harden, okay, now James Harden, he played a great game last night. 31 points last night. Makes you wonder, where was this James Harden all along? Where was this James Harden in games 1, 2, and 3? Where was he? But I'm not going to assume that just based on one game that he's back to, he's back to being at his best. Because it's only one game. Now, I hope that James Harden, while I'm still on that subject, does continue his game 4 performance, cross that over into games 4 and 5 and possibly 7 if needed. I hope he does that, but we'll see if that actually happens. But the sad part is, with the way this team's currently structured, with its coaching, with Doc Rivers as its coach, with all his flaws, his horrible rotations, his history of throwing players under the bus mindlessly. Like, remember when he threw Harden under the bus after the Pistons regular season loss when the bench got outscored? Just use that as one example. And you take those flaws right there, mainly his coaching, his rotations. It's the main problem with his coaching right there. He doesn't really get behind the young guys. He doesn't give them opportunities to develop during the regular season. But there's horrible rotation. But you got that right there. Doc Rivers is the coach who really is just a product of good talent around him, has been his whole entire coaching career. You got that right there. And then you also got, so you see how we play without Joel Embiid. I mean, Tobias Harris, forget about it. Just because he had one all-star snub, and I'll still say all-star snub in 2020, 2021, doesn't mean that he's valuable going forward. I mean, don't let some of the performances, his good performances here and there throughout the season fool you. I mean, outside of Embiid, he's not valuable long-term. Like I said, Doc Rivers, really not a good coach. I mean, Tyrese Maxey's showing potential to be a star, but we're not at that point yet where we could rely on Tyrese Maxey to be the guy if needed, with all due respect to him. I mean, he's showing he's a future star, but he's not at that point yet. I mean, you look, and James Harden, he looks like he's past his prime. I mean, don't let the one game last night fool you. I mean, if for the most part, though, most of his games, he looks like he's past his prime. He's not playing like the former 3-time scoring champion, except for one game last night. So really, the sad part is this team ultimately, they rely on Joel Embiid to be the heart and soul. It's a shame that they can't step up, even with supposedly a lot of talent around them when he's not there. Even supposedly with Danny Green being a good bench guy, supposedly Tobias Harris being a solid role player, James Harden supposedly still being a superstar. Even with all this supposedly being there, with Tyrese Maxey seeming to be the future star of this team, sadly, they need Joel Embiid. They can't rely on him not being there. Now, it's great that we have Embiid, but the sad part is with all, as great as a player as he is, he has his injury history, and we really need him in the lineup in order to have a chance at contending. So, yeah, that's really what I'm saying. I guess you guys get what I'm saying here. The point I'm getting is the last two games, games 3 and 4, ultimately reinforce the point that they need Joel Embiid to be contenders. It's great that we have him, but it's also a shame that rest of the team can't step up and rally if he misses a few games. So that's where I'm going to leave that with the Sixers. And as far as they go, hey, we have a 2-2 series with the Heat. We might have a chance at winning it. I still have my doubts, but there is a chance now. We'll see what happens. You guys can comment. Let me know what you think in the comment section. If you agree with what I said, if you disagree with what I said, if you have additional points you want to bring up in the comment section, just feel free to leave a comment. Let me know how you feel about the subject right here. Most of all, also feel free to drop a like. If you're new and you haven't subscribed, do so. And also feel free to share the vid. Most of all, everyone watching, have a wonderful day or night. Nikki Steve signing off, and I'll see you next time.